Hello, everybody. Welcome to the
Hello.
official Glasses episode of the Squeaky Floorboards Society.
I'm
I'm Megan,
Sage. I'm Sage.
and this week we have a fun case for you. I say case because there is a bit of a mystery at one point. But before we do that, Sage, do you have anything new you want to discuss in your life?
The other day we had a code called over the intercom. Uh,
Hmm.
and like my entire job was like talking about talking about the different codes, and they were like, oh yeah, our favorite is code purple, and I'm like, what's code purple? As if the back of my car to get into the building does not tell me the list of codes. And they go, it's a missing none, and I said they could stay missing.
It's missing none. Like, there's a code purple called, and you just see me suddenly spawn, and I'm just fucking running like that meme of that cop from, what is it, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Uh,
I gotta find her.
oh my god, I've said before that I am scared of nuns.
Hmm.
And the other day, my sister was in the hospital, or she was getting released from the hospital, I think. And I called her after work, and I'm driving, and I'm at the stop sign, or like the stoplight, 'cause we only have one stoplight in our town, and I'm at it. But they have you parked so far back because this is an older town, so like trucks and stuff need to be able to swing in. So you're parked like it almost feels like 20 feet back from where like the intersection is. I'm sitting there, and I'm talking to Moonlight. She's on FaceTime, and I look over, and it was just one nun coming around the corner, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So I'm like trying to look the other way, but out of the corner of my eye, they just kept coming, one after another. I texted one of the girls I work with who goes the same way that I do, roughly, except for she turns at that light where I go straight, and she goes. I was like, I could drive my car into the intersection right now or something like that. And she's like, I just saw them. And I was like, I'm crying.
Just none after none.
It was easily 15 to 20.
That's absolute nonsense. I fight for those who have ever. Well, I guess you probably cut out all the stuff that I do while you're talking,
I do.
but I'm not actively talking. Because look, I know that Sage is gonna cut it out, so that's when I do all my nonsense. I'm like fucking fighting with my lamp in Mortal Kombat half the time because it keeps moving. Like it's one of those lamps that kind of slowly just bends back.
I know what to talk about.
Yeah.
If you guys ever
And
wonder why the camera shoots up real close all of a sudden between like words, it's because like we'll both be getting to have a conversation that I can see like in the audio spike.
mhm.
But so I'm like trying to have both of us on screen, and then like one of us is like doing something weird that I'm like, okay, well I gotta zoom this in real quick.
Yeah, it's probably me. I don't know what's going on with my lighting today, but I have like the world's largest, like, okay, not the largest, but I don't have this double chin in real life. My lighting is very unflattering today.
I think it's where your mic and like where your hair is swooping under, it's casting a
Oh,
shadow.
okay.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that
what it
might be it.
is.
Shit. Just do the whole. I gotta mew through the whole episode.
Oh, I brought a fidget toy today.
I brought tater tots that my child didn't eat because he does. He said he didn't like them. He's really picky about textures, though. So if you see me eating a tater tot, I'm eating it. Sorry.
I can't eat tater tots.
What if a nun tried to give you tater tots?
I think I would just die right on the spot if a nun came up to me and tried to. I truly do. I believe that with my whole heart.
Would it be better or worse if it was like the Conjuring nun?
Know what the Conjuring nun looks like. I'm trying to think.
The scary nun? Oh, so would you be more scared of a regular nun or a scary nun?
Depends. Do I know that they're there, or do they just spawn?
They both just like you're just walking down the street and you just see them coming towards you.
A regular one.
That's crazy work.
Hi, welcome to generational trauma. May I take
Yeah,
your
that's
order?
that's gotta be what just.
It has to be.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the only thing it can be.
oh, I'm so excited. Also, I want to. So, I'm not going to tell you when we're recording this episode because I'm not going to age it. Um,
Hmm.
but Megan has been doing some awesome work with the thumbnails on YouTube, and I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Thanks.
I was
I'm
like,
having fun.
with the second one you sent me, I was sitting here, and Dennis came to my office to talk to me, and I just like my mouth dropped up, and I was like, "That is so pretty." And he was like, "I'm talking to you about like something serious right now," and I was like, "Sorry, I got distracted."
I forgot that I sent you two for the first video, and I thought you were talking about the one for which one
Yeah,
with the graveyard, and I was like, pretty.
that's.
There's a guy.
I know that was the one I was talking about. That one was pretty.
Oh,
I was
oh,
talking about the graveyard one.
oh, okay.
I just liked that one a lot.
The only experience I actually have with like editing images is from when I was a mod on a Naruto Discord server. I made all the event banners.
And
Oh, and my Tumblr blog, I made my own header.
you want to keep that under kind of nuts. You told me to make sure that they never knew you had a Tumblr.
Oh no, we can keep that in. This can be how they find out.
Okay. I was just like,
No, I have a Tumblr. I've been on there since like 2011. I was there for the Mish apocalypse, if that means anything to any of you.
I was just like, there's the amount of times we fuck up on shit that we're like, we don't want them to know. And so I'm like, hey.
Hey. Hey.
Like in our previous episode where a name was said, and I was just like, what do I do?
Yeah, you can't put that in there. I have exciting news. I now have a fence.
You do?
So the guy, his company, it took them a little while to get out here because we had a storm roll through a few months ago. So they've been doing a lot of storm repair to people's
You
fences.
talking about the
and
storm that took out your neighbor's roof?
yeah. So that same storm literally blew my neighbor's front porch. So here's their house. Here's where their front porch is attached. The wind hit in their front porch roof, went boop. It flipped up onto their roof and like tore apart. I was in their house, in their basement with them, and we heard it happen, and we were like, "Oh no!" But
I hadn't moved yet,
yeah,
had I? Or was that like right
you
after I
moved.
moved?
That was right after you moved.
I know that because the
Well, and then
Midwest.
we had a couple other really big storms roll through that did not help the situation.
Well, it's
But they have a very lovely screened-in front porch now
ooh,
that insurance paid for.
I love
So, it's way nicer than their original porch because their original porch was kind of ugly.
it.
It's not even that. It's not even that. It's like a way nicer front porch. It's just aesthetically more pleasing.
I only have ever seen their porch once, and that was when you sent me their roof.
Yeah, and I was like, "Hey, hey, look what happened." But no,
No,
so it
you
took them a while.
You didn't text me with any other information other than the storm just hit or the storm just passed. My neighbor's roof's gone. I was in their basement. That was all
Yeah.
the information I had.
Yeah. But so it took them a while to get out here. But once he did, they spent a few hours one afternoon like digging out so that it would be level, and then 2 days to dig up the old retaining wall, make a new retaining wall.
You're talking about the one that's by your back door, that wall, like the wooden one.
Mhm. Oh, I took that down a long time ago.
This shows how long that I've not been to your house
I
or seen
detached.
you.
I detached the gutter, and then I just kicked the wall down because it was falling apart. And it was like that when I bought the house. So there was like a cement retaining wall that was kind of crumbly and shitty. Whoever did it just did a really bad job. So they dug that out, cemented some stuff in, and then built a retaining wall with these really nice looking pavers. And then they put the fence up and put 2 gates on it so I can get into the backyard or I can go into my carport. And they did a really good job. And I was watching. There was a spot. It was like these three like Hispanic guys that were doing my fence. I was watching them because there was a spot in the fence that they hadn't filled in yet, and it was like the last spot. And I was like, I wonder why they're not doing that. And then I hear the saw. It was slightly too long for one of the boards to cover completely, so they took like 2 boards and then like cut them like a little bit over halfway, and it took the bigger halves and like glued them together and filled in the spot with that, and it literally looks perfect. I was like, you guys are geniuses.
Why do I picture you just standing at like your window with a cup of tea, just like staring at them with no expression?
So what I had was a cat. I was holding Sasuke because he wanted to see what was going on. And he's too fat to jump up into the window now. So I was holding him, and I felt terrible though because I was like in my head I was like, oh my god, they probably are getting like overseer vibes from me, and that's not what I mean at all. I like to build things myself. I enjoy watching the process. I'm not like supervising you because I don't trust you. I'm not even supervising you. I'm in my house. I can't. Door's closed. I can't say anything to you. Like I felt weird. I felt like I was giving off weird vibes. I was like, I hope I'm not making them uncomfortable. I'm just genuinely intrigued by what they're doing. I think it's really cool, and it looks so nice, and I like watching them build it because it looks so nice.
I feel like after you moved into your house, like I think I came over like 4 or 5 times, like right after you got it, and you were like doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, every single time I came over, I feel like there was like a ladder, paint rollers, tools just laying about.
Yeah, it's still getting worked on. I was going to stop working on it and just finish out a few things because I thought I'd sell and move. But now that my fence is up, I really don't want to.
I kind of like, I think I've been like a little bit of a mental block because like I know that we'll eventually be moving from this house. So I'm like, do I really want to go through the effort of like getting every room the way that I want it? Do I really want to put the effort in to making it like ours if we're just going to be moving again.
We sound, just so you guys know we sound privileged. We know.
I do want to
We're
point out,
sorry.
Megan can confirm, prior to getting with my husband,
Stage didn't have shit.
no, I didn't even own a desk. I didn't own anything. I had, when I moved in with people, I had a singular trash bag of clothes, and that was all I had.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I married up, definitely, but not in like the snooty wife way, per se, if that makes sense.
No, you've never been snooty. You just don't really have it in you.
No, I'm, my husband likes to say I'm too redneck for that.
Yeah. My man came from a trailer in the woods.
When we say that we got with each other, male
Like the male
versions,
form, yeah.
we mean it.
Yeah, because I'm the one that's better off than Daryl as well.
And Dennis is way better off than I was.
Well, now that we've probably pissed off at least a few people by talking about our home value in this, look, I recognize. Look, we would not be. Neither of us would be doing well if we had to rent.
No, we would not.
The rental market is insane. I recognize this.
My parents rent, but we also talked about, like, instead of selling the house, renting it out, because this is a college town. I mean, not like the town that I lived in previously, but this is still a college town.
Yeah, you could do that.
And
you could be really nice, equitable landlords instead of shitty ones.
Yeah, and it's a 3-bedroom, so like even if it's just like a starter home, it's still pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, my house is a 3-bedroom.
Although
which not really a starter home since I already had a child.
It's a starter home for me and Dennis.
But yeah, hopefully soon you'll have somebody to put in another bedroom.
How am I not? I wanted to keep it a secret. How am I not going to tell you what I literally FaceTime with, or do like we do this once a week? How would I even hide that? You're gonna notice something unless I just never get out of the chair.
Well, yeah, I mean, your stomach doesn't show. But I would probably just like pick up the vibes, quite frankly.
If I'm like, hey, I gotta puke real quick.
Are we ready to learn about the Beast of LBL?
I am so ready.
Oh, okay. Have you ever heard of a place called LBL? LBL is short for Land Between the Lakes. It's a popular national recreation area spanning parts of both Kentucky and Tennessee. Every year, approximately 1.5 million people travel to LBL to spend some time in the great outdoors. Some of the activities there are camping, hunting, various animal education programs, and even laser light shows. LBL may not be all fun and games, though. The park may be home to a terrifying monster that not only stalks park visitors, but may also have killed them. Before discussing this beast, a little backstory is needed. So before LBL was LBL, it was just a plain, wooded land known as the Land Between the Rivers. This area was extremely fertile and was settled by Shawnee native tribes. French fur trappers were some of the first Europeans to settle in this area, and soon other settlers followed during westward expansion. During the Great Depression, President Roosevelt established the Tennessee Valley Authority and tasked them to construct dams for flood control and the generation of electricity in the Tennessee Valley. This led to the creation of Kentucky Lake in 1944, which despite its economic and geographic benefits, pissed a lot of people off, and rightfully so. The new lake flooded low-lying areas, which forced about 800 families to relocate via eminent domain. In some cases, entire towns were put underwater. 1966, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers created Lake Barkley using the Cumberland River. This sat at the other end of the land opposite from Kentucky Lake, leading to the area's moniker, Land Between the Lakes, or LBL. In 1963, JFK declared it a National Recreation Center. The difference between, and I did not know this, the difference between a national park and a national recreation center is that some hunting is permitted in the recreation center. So now that we have the facts, let's get into the mystery. So we'll start with the original legends. LBL is supposedly home to none other than a werewolf, or perhaps a dogman. Legends of a wolf beast stalking the park go back to the time before colonization. When French fur trappers and explorers first arrived, the Shawnee warned them of a massive beast that sounded very similar to what they knew as the loup-garou. So we can't escape the French even in this episode.
The French, I feel like maybe just all of France is werewolves, because I feel like most of the stories are all French.
It's their fault.
But also, I'm finding too, because I found some that aren't French, they were just way better record keepers with everything. So I feel like there's probably like tens and hundreds of thousands of stories out there. It's just the French were like, we're keeping everything documented.
And this may or may not be the same as the Shawnee legend of a shaman who had learned shapeshifting. The shaman would turn into a wolf, and eventually he began to abuse his power, leading his tribe to hunt him down and kill him. He was killed while in wolf form, and his spirit stalked the area in the form of a wolf seeking revenge. In the 1800s, it was said that a European man had settled between the rivers with his family, but that they were no ordinary family. The man was said to have a disease that made him mad after nightfall, and that the disease was hereditary, meaning his children would also go mad after nightfall as the years progressed. Which just sounds like Sundowner Syndrome. The family lived in isolation for many years, then one day, they went totally silent. None of them were seen to trade or make trips to town for supplies. Many believed they had all simply died. However, in the very early 1900s, I couldn't find the exact year, a group made the trek to the family's homestead and found that it had simply been abandoned. Nobody ever found out what happened to them or where they went. Of course, this could have just been a family suffering from sundowner syndrome or some form of mental illness, but the connection between nighttime and madness is compelling nonetheless. As we've discussed before, the term lunacy came from the Latin word luna, meaning moon, and was used to refer to diseases such as intermittent insanity because it was believed to be caused by the moon. It's quite literally moon madness. The correlation between that and werewolves should be pretty self-explanatory, especially after our intro episode. When the Americans moved in, the area became rife with tales of hunters who would go into the woods only to vanish without a trace. Settlers would find mutilated, half-eaten bison with their throats slashed open. The interesting thing is that the throats would be slashed rather than ripped. This suggests the use of claws rather than teeth. Going into the 1900s, farmers talked about their livestock being shredded by a creature from the woods. One man even claimed that the beast had lunged at him in a horse stall, causing him to wet his overalls. These were local people who knew the land and its local wildlife well, so for them to fear a creature from the woods like this suggests it was something entirely unknown to them. Of course, there isn't any real documentation of anything happening around this time, and all stories were passed along verbally. Because this was a very close-knit community, as it is in a lot of small towns, and from what I understand, a lot of locals actually hate this story.
Is it because it's like negative, per se negative?
So the locals say that it's not real, and they've never heard of people saying this or whatever. But it is worth mentioning that it is a tourist economy down there.
I wonder if it's because like certain areas, if like your family's been there for generations, you don't want people like. I can understand because it would also raise like property value and stuff like that as well if you like become a tourist spot.
Right. I don't know. Of course, it's also worth noting none of these people physically live in the park.
Yeah.
So, but it tends to be that way in really tight-knit kind of rural communities anyway. They'll just deny stuff anyways. I know because we're from a small town.
And
people will just deny stuff.
Live in is also very much like denying everything.
Yeah, we'll just straight up like lie to you and be like, no, because we don't feel like talking about it and we don't like people intruding on our business.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't believe you.
Yep.
And also, like I said, a lot of the people just don't go in the park.
Yeah, and you can't.
So
it's giving my mom vibes.
Right. It could also be that if you don't talk about it, it won't bother you.
Yeah. That is true.
So now here's some modern sightings that in some cases we have decent record of it, in other cases we don't. But thankfully, or perhaps unfortunately, we have plenty of modern sightings to give deeper insight into the creature. A sighting in 1973 gives us some insight into the creature's physical abilities. A group of students from Murray College went camping in LBL. One of the men returned from using the bathroom in the woods feeling very unsettled. He told the group that he felt like he was being watched, and he heard strange sniffing noises. The others just laughed it off. They were in the woods after all. Of course there are animals nearby. After nightfall, however, the other campers began to share in his fear as it became apparent that something very large was circling their campsite. Despite using their flashlights, they couldn't actually lay eyes on whatever it was. Soon after that, a horrible howling began. It was incredibly loud and had a blood-curdling quality to it that scared them to the core. They managed to catch a glimpse of a pair of red eyes staring at them during the howling. They had had enough at this point and hopped into their VW van to make a quick exit from the park. As they raced out of LBL, they were still pursued by a large shadowy figure. At one point, it felt like something slammed into the back of the van and then momentarily held the van in place. Tires spinning, they eventually broke free and did not stop until they had returned to their campus. Upon their return, they found massive claw marks that had ripped through the back of their van. At this time, cars weren't made of the same material they are now. Their exterior was much sturdier, and the VW van's exterior was made of steel, which meant whatever had ripped into their vehicle had some serious strength behind it.
That is horrifying.
I love that you're bringing kind of creepy but fun cases, and then I'm like, it had claws that could rip through steel. Every episode is like this.
But I also feel like your stories are more recent compared to some of the ones that I've been covering.
Right.
So
it's so easy to just kind of tee-hee about folklore. And then you hear about a group of college students. This is the Scooby Gang. It's the 1970s.
Yeah.
And you're like, ooh. So we're going to talk about someone right now who is a very controversial figure. I think if her report is true, I find it extremely troubling. If it's not, and there's some people who doubt her credibility, I'm on the fence. But this is a really widely reported story in terms of the LBL dog man. And we don't have proof necessarily that there's no proof that she's lying, right? It's just some of her actions later on down the road, you know, and her involvement with another case kind of gives people pause. So this is the report from one of the reports from Jan Thompson. In 1988, when she was 13, she went to stay with her aunt and uncle to spend some of her summer break with her cousins. Her extended family lived in Grand Rivers, Kentucky, which is located right at the entrance to LBL. It was a short visit, but its events would alter her life forever. Oh, I do want to also point out that this story was originally a Reddit post. And I took this information from the original Reddit post that she made.
Okay.
So you don't get much closer to the source than that.
No.
It was near dusk, and Jan and her 10-year-old cousin Rhonda were sitting on the porch swing. They were waiting for her 15-year-old cousin Joe to come home from riding his dirt bike. Joe liked to take his dirt bike out in the afternoon to ride the many trails that ran through the woods. But he was always told by his father that he must be out of the woods by nightfall. Even when Joe's parents weren't home, he was a good kid who abided by the rules. So on that particular night, despite Jan's uncle being at work and her aunt being gone grocery shopping, Jan and Rhonda knew Joe would soon be home and decided to wait outside for him, listening for the familiar scream of Joe's dirt bike as it came over the hill across the road from the driveway. Suddenly they did hear the sound of his bike, but it wasn't the normal sound of the bike slowly shifting down gears to slow down and stop. Instead, it was the shrill screech of a dirt bike in high gear. Joe emerged from the woods at top speed and went completely airborne and rounded the top of the hill. The bike slammed into the pavement, still at top speed. Both girls leapt up off the swing, fearing he would crash into the porch. Joe did crash, but managed to control it fairly well and slide out from under the bike to hit the ground running. Jan and Rhonda realized that Joe was panting heavily and had tears streaming down his cheeks. His eyes gazed at the top of the hill, as if he was expecting something to come over it at any moment. The pen of basset hounds off to the side of the driveway all began to growl at once, but the racket slowly turned to a terrified whine as Joe never broke eye contact with the top of the hill. The basset hounds seemed to snap Joe out of his trance, and he screamed, "It grabbed me. Look at my leg." Sure enough, the thick denim of his jeans was clawed through at the thigh, leaving small bloody lines on his skin. He began recounting that whatever it was had stalked him through the woods as he rode past the old sawmill, and that it was hairy with a long snout and 2 legs. Jan was confused because she couldn't think of anything that fit that description, and she became very scared. Things were only going to get worse, though.
I have a quick question.
A horrible... Yes.
Sorry. Has this been covered by, like, a TV show or something?
Maybe.
Because I'm sitting here and you're telling me, and I'm like, I have a vivid memory of watching a video that, like, recounts this. And as you're telling more and more, I'm, like, seeing the scene play out in my head, because you know how, like, they, like, make everything kind of, like, blurry and fuzzy, and it's, like, moving around?
Yeah.
I have that in my head, and I'm like...
I'm sure that some show has covered this, because Jan Thompson's extremely vocal.
It's Jan. Her name's Jan Thompson. I can listen.
Yeah.
If you want to continue.
Things were only going to get worse, though. A horrible howling sounded from the woods, causing the dogs in the pen to freeze. As the sound grew closer to the top of the hill, Joe began to push the girls towards the front door, demanding that they all go inside. They were on the porch again when the creature that had pursued Joe. At first, it seemed to be a large wolf, but as it came down the hill, Jan saw it was taller than a man and walked on its hind legs. It let out a long gurgling howl at the end of the driveway, just as the driveway security light came. It raised its hand to shield its eyes from the light, solidifying to Jan that this was something she could not comprehend. The terrified trio ran into the house, followed by the single basset hound who lived inside the house. They locked the door, which the dog sniffed momentarily before darting into their aunt's room. The 3 of them grabbed kitchen knives and followed the dog and hid under the bed with it after barricading the bedroom door. They listened in horror as the monster ransacked the porch and attacked the front door. They heard the sounds of glass breaking and wondered fearfully if the creature could actually fit itself through the window. The sound of Jan's aunt's Cadillac horn suddenly blared several times as she drove to the driveway. This was always her signal to let the kids know to come get the groceries. When they didn't come out, she came inside and put the groceries up herself, eventually finding them barricaded under the bed in her room. The 3 kids were chastised for having the kitchen knives, but after Joe recounted their experience, she simply looked grim and told them that a window in the front had indeed been. The next morning, Jan's uncle sat them all down and told them to stay out of the woods, as he himself had just found large dens dug in the woods that were full of animal remains. He also told them how the old Boy Scout camp that was alongside the river used to have scouts report large wolf hind legs, and that he and his older son had seen then. Okay. Joe did not ride his bike through the woods after this, and only returned to the woods at all years later. This time they were armed with rifles, and Joe was a grown man. When they returned from the woods, they both vowed to never step foot in them again. The dens were still there, it seemed, and they could never shake the feeling that something was watching them. Jan has been very open with her story and speaks about it a lot, and I did put the original Reddit post story as a link in the document so that you guys can read it. So this next story has everything. It has a terrifying dogman encounter, Bigfoot, portals, and possible conspiracies.
Wow.
This tale comes from a man named Martin Groves. I have to give a shout out to another podcast called The Confessionals, because when I was researching LBL, their episode with Martin Groves came up. So I got to hear Martin Groves tell it in his own.
That's so cool.
With video. He also has books. I was able to find some excerpts, but not really enough. So this information comes from both the books and his interview with professionals. And he sounds very believable to me. I do believe this man. Okay, but I do believe him, for what it's worth. Groves is a retired police officer who has worked in just about every police field imaginable. He's had extensive training and has seen a lot of stuff. In 1993, he was working as a deputy sheriff in a local department in Robertson County, Tennessee, when he and a coworker, he doesn't give the coworker's real name.
Okay.
He calls him Harry. He calls him Harry because Harry did not want people to know about this.
That's fair.
Harry's dead now, so he's since passed on, so he can talk more about it now than he could when Harry was alive. They decided to take a turkey hunting trip into the land between the lakes. Both men were well respected and fearless and worked together often. So they kind of had this, they had that camaraderie. They were familiar with working with each other, so should have been good for a hunting trip. It was a Friday when they arrived and found their campsite on the Tennessee-Kentucky line. It was a very isolated spot, which isn't surprising considering how vast the wilderness there is if you stray away from the designated campground. It was backed by a rock wall ridge, which they liked to protect them from the elements. Their first night was calm, and even included a visit from a raccoon. The next morning, they were set back by rain and stayed in camp until it had subsided. Then they went off separately to hunt. Both men were confident when they set off. Groves had made it several miles off the trail from camp when he noticed that there were less and less signs of wildlife, despite earlier seeing clear indicators of wildlife, including the turkey he was after. Groves walked for hours, getting further and further from camp, but this didn't worry him. Eventually, he decided to take a rest and left the woods to rest on an old logging road. The road had clearly been out of use for a time, so he was surprised to hear the sound of a motor. It turned out to be a truck with a hunter named Bubba inside. He ended up having a pleasant conversation with a good while. Bubba also was a firefighter.
Okay.
So they were both in the kind of public service sector.
Okay.
And also, Bubba was a bow hunter too, and this may be relevant later on. Bubba invited them to his campsite, which turned out to be about a mile from the campsite. Groves declined this, but as Groves left to return home, Bubba informed him that he and Harry should be careful, as something had been circling his camp, but staying outside the firelight enough that he couldn't see what it was. Groves then started off back to his campsite. As Groves walked back, he was aware that the normal sounds of crickets were not there in the woods, but didn't pay much heed. The thing that really caught his attention was a loud metallic slam, as if a metal door was scraping the floor and slammed shut. Groves was miles and miles away from any buildings, cars, or even. As he looked about, he found no explanation for the noise. However, he did begin to see something odd. There was something moving in his peripheral vision, partly obscured by the trees and bushes. He also began to hear the sounds of something running alongside him, but staying well out of sight. His first thought was that a pack of coyotes was pursuing him, as he thought that he could see 2 or 3 of whatever it was. He wasn't concerned, as this isn't an uncommon experience for hunters out late in the evening, and he had his gun. The thing that snapped him out of it was hearing loud, shrill whistles from in front of him and behind him. He then began to think that maybe it was a coon hunter training their dogs, which didn't worry him either. The sounds of rock striking rock was explained away in his mind as well. It was quite dark at this point, and Groves was beginning to notice how strange it was that the dogs or coyotes pursuing him hadn't come closer to see what he was. That's when it hit him, stopping him dead in his tracks. It also stopped whatever was with him in its tracks as well. He was being stalked by something intelligent.
That's so
He drew his
scary to think that you're just being stalked by something that you can't actually see.
Well, and the fact that it had been going on for so long, and he thought, oh, well, maybe it's coyotes. Oh, well, maybe it's, coon dogs.
Yeah.
That's what the whistling is, and that would make sense to me too. My uncle was a coon hunter for a long time. That you'd whistle to call your dogs back.
Yeah. That
And so
sounds
then
scary.
to suddenly realize that it's neither of those things would be
Horrifying.
terrifying. So he drew his weapon and chambered around just to be safe. As would I.
Yeah.
In the most fading light from the sun through the trees, he sees what he believes to be a hunter in a ghillie suit, which leads him to believe once again that he is indeed being pursued by hunting dogs. He hears the metallic noise again and the hunter disappears. Groves is nervous, but just makes his way back to camp as quickly as he can. He finds Harry in a nervous state as well. Harry explained that while he was out hunting in a cornfield, various objects were thrown at him by an unseen person with the same whistles and screeches as Groves. At the time, however, both men were pretty well set on the idea that they were being harassed by humans, and they felt like they could handle any together.
So
This all...
Is this implying that there's two?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what they thought was, well, maybe this is where they normally hunt, and they're mad that we're here.
Yeah.
So they're trying to harass us out of the site. Maybe that means there's really good turkey here. Maybe they're hunting something else. Maybe they're poaching and they don't want us in the area. That's what they kind of. That's the gears that were turning in their minds at this point. And I can see that, but maybe it's because I'm not like a cop. But my alarm bells would have been going off.
Yeah.
And theirs were too, but they weren't worried about it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Because, like, I know that, like, on part of the area where my dad hunts, sometimes the hunters, like, if there are people down there that have never been down there before, they will definitely try to scare them.
Yeah. Hunters can get kind of territorial over. As total darkness fell, they began to have objects tossed at them. First, it was just twigs from the rock wall behind them, but they became worried when an entire 6-foot-tall tree was thrown into the camp.
What?
Like a 6-foot-tall, like, fucking tree just got launched.
Why did my mind went to a 6-foot-tall Christmas tree. And not like a real one, like the artificial.
Oh shit! It's not Christmas. What the fuck's this doing in my cave? No. Groves was looking. So they realized there's something on that rock ridge above them, and it's tossing shit down. And they're like, if this is humans, like, this is bad.
That's a really strong person.
That's the other thing they were noticing. Groves was looking at the wall when he noticed something right to the east of the camp. He thought that this was a hunter hiding behind a tree smoking a cigarette, since he saw the red of the cherry. If you've seen someone smoke at night, you know their cigarette. Harry also saw it. Groves called out to the person, identifying himself as a sheriff deputy, demanding that the person come out, but they got no response. Noise on the ridge above drew their attention, as a rock was hurled towards them. It was at least 30 pounds, scared the men. The two men began screaming and cursing at whoever was harassing them. Their tirade was halted when a noise that Groves describes as a hideous growl came from the line of oak trees by their camp. Groves said it was so loud and deep that he felt it in his chest.
So, wait. It launches a 30-pound rock at them, and then groans at them in the deepest sound they've ever heard.
Yeah, and they're just like fucking... Well, this is two different locations. So the rock comes off the rock wall behind them, and then the growl comes from a line of trees. So remember where they thought they saw the guy smoking?
Yeah.
This is where that growl comes from.
I would die. Yeah. I would die right there.
Right. Because that means that wasn't a cherry. That was an eye peeking out from behind the tree. He said that the growl itself had some kind of physical effect on him and Harry. They felt sick, nervous, and became completely terrified. And became completely paralyzed. They were terrified. This could be a fear reaction, or it could be some sort of supernatural interference. Because they are he said many times during this interview, this is not a normal reaction for him or Harry in these kinds of situations. They're both used to being in high stress, high adrenaline situations, and they don't freeze.
So, yeah, you have to...
So their bodies are used to this.
Yeah, and, like, if you're an officer, you're typically, like, if you're being cornered, you have the, like, fight response, not the flight or the freeze or the fawn.
Right. There wouldn't be so many cases of brutality if the cops' first line of defense was to freeze.
Yeah.
So then it began to enter their camp. He could hear the steps approaching and could just feel this abominable presence drawing closer. But he remained unable to respond in any way. Remember, he and Harry both have guns. Neither of them even have their weapon out. They can't even bring themselves to draw their gun. He could soon see a large bipedal wolf beast walking towards them. The fear was suffocating as it got closer. It sniffs the air as it walks in, and then bares its teeth in a menacing, grin-like snarl. Groves can't understand what he's seeing at this point. This is a werewolf, some monster that isn't real. He begins to pray, because he doesn't know what else to do. He says he's praying silently, and eventually, as he's watching this thing walk into their camp, he's praying silently. And he said slowly he's able to mouth the words, and then he slowly becomes able to move. So he continues to pray loudly and is eventually able to use his gun. The beast shied away from his gun as he pointed it at him. Given that this was a department-issued handgun, this is his police gun. He had to know exactly what he was about to shoot at to be able to account for those rounds. This gave him pause, and he lowered his weapon, hoping to not have to shoot. The moment he did, the beast began to walk towards him again. This was his cue. He fired on it twice, and Harry also suddenly fired his double-barreled shotgun. The monster was gone in the blink of an eye, ascending the... Harry had fired on another beast entirely, apparently hitting it due to the noise it made.
Oh.
Groves and his Yeah. So there's some, brush behind them that Harry has shot into and hit something.
Why am I, picturing, the Scooby-Doo where they're back-to-back?
I mean, kind of. Groves and his partner ran out of the camp as fast as they could, guns in hand, and jumped in their truck. So Groves actually jumps in the tailgate as Harry gets in the truck, the cab. Because Harry gets there first, and he's already fired, so Groves just jumps in. And as Harry turns the truck's headlights on, they see the true horror of their situation. Not only did they have the werewolf to contend with, but in the cornfield that Harry had just hunted in and was harassed in, were two creatures taller than the... He says that they were Bigfoots, but they are foul. They're not like what you see on TV, where it's like a big old monkey man. Instead, they are hideous and frightening, with mouths full of teeth, and they were glaring at them. He said he could feel their hatred. One ducked down on all fours as the headlights came on.
That's horrifying.
Mm-hmm. As Groves looked back at the camp as Harry drove away, he could see their camp being ripped apart by the wolf beast. Whatever Harry hit with his shotgun pursues their truck. They go to the ranger station after arguing about stop, because Harry did not want to stop anywhere. Groves argued that since he'd fired his gun, they had to report the incident. Since the stations are not manned overnight, they camp in the truck until morning. I do want to point out that for them to go into the ranger station is kind of crazy, because, they, pissed their pants and stuff. and they just walked in the next morning.
Also, being, stuck at the same spot.
So he did say that they drove really far away.
Okay.
As far as they could.
I'm if you told me that I just experienced, the scariest thing known to God, and then I'm going to sit there and park somewhere after something was chasing my vehicle.
Right.
No.
Right. Yeah. I probably would have left and then, the park entirely and then come back the next day.
Yeah.
But these are men.
Yeah.
They do man things. When they do go to report the incident, they are thrown into a chaotic scene. The station is full of activity despite it being something bad has happened. Groves goes inside and tells the ranger at the counter that they were attacked, pulled aside as the ranger tries to spin it into a story about a bear and how they may have shot a bear out of. Meanwhile, Harry is talking to another ranger, and when he is met with similar talk, pulls him out to look at their truck. The ranger takes their IDs and credentials and checks out their firearm, and even goes so far as to call the sheriff that Groves and his partner work for. The sheriff vouches for them and gets into a pretty heated argument with the ranger. The sheriff even intervenes to prevent them from being arrested. Groves found some off... What?
That's so crazy that, if you're a ranger, you have to know. That's surely not the first report you have heard of. So for,
it was a bear. No, it's a bear, and you might have shot a... You should be quiet about this.
Yeah,
Right. So Groves goes outside, and he finds some officers that he knows. And they told him that two turkey hunters had found a man that had been pulled out of his tent and eaten alive, which is why the station had so many people. This was in stark contrast to what Harry had been told by the ranger he was speaking to, which was that there had been an armed campsite.
An armed robbery at a campsite, and you're, oh my.
Groves finally speaks to the head ranger, who gives him his stuff back and tells him to leave the park and that they were lucky to not be arrested for hunting bear out of season. Interestingly enough, the ranger said the stupidest thing possible because LBL did not even have at that time. So anytime you were hunting bear in LBL would be out of season.
Yeah. What the?
So there's a lot to unpack in this story. The metallic scraping, what do we think that is? Well, they think it's portals. This is the interdimensional dogman that we've talked about.
Is this the one being controlled by Bigfoot? Well, I guess it makes sense that
Yes!
Bigfoot was there!
These Bigfoots are the more intelligent beings. The Bigfoot was the guy in the ghillie suit. The hunter in the ghillie suit was a Bigfoot.
So wait.
And the dogmen are stalking Groves as he walks through the woods. They're being summoned by the Bigfoot, and they're being controlled by the Bigfoot's whistling. Because remember, he says there's two Bigfoots in the cornfields, and when he's walking through the woods, there's whistling in front of him and whistling behind him.
Wouldn't that mean that there would be 4 then, technically, because both of them were hearing whistling?
There could be more. There could be more. Because remember, there's also another creature that we don't ever see that Harry shoots.
That is true.
So there could just be 3 because it only takes one creature to harass Harry in the cornfield.
So, if interdimensional is a thing, does that mean that this werewolf dogman beast thing, is there a hospital for him to go to if he was just shot?
The Bigfoots are hateful and they just leave you to die, I think.
But if that's the case, then the body would have been found.
Or they drag you back and don't treat you, and they put you down like Old Yeller for being shitty at your job.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
So, yeah, like I said, we got Portal Theory, we got Bigfoot, we got Dogman, we have Rangers covering up an incident. I do want to also let everyone know that I watched a second interview in which he...
You watched a second interview, what?
With Martin Groves.
Okay.
The hunter that was found in the tent was Bubba.
Bubba!
It was Bubba. Which is why I say it's relevant that he was a bow. Because one, you have to be fairly strong to like shoot a hunting bow. I've shot one. It's insanely hard.
Well, it also depends on like the weight pool. So I'm figuring like
he said Bubba had a pretty big bow. So Bubba's strong. He's used to the woods, and also he was armed. But a bow doesn't go off as quick as a gun.
Yeah.
So if Bubba had been, a rifle out there rifle hunting,
he might be alive.
Maybe he'd be alive. Because to draw your bow, knock the arrow, and then pull back and shoot, you're not going to have time to do that if someone's actively barging into your tent.
No.
So, yeah. And also, it's worth mentioning, Bubba was a firefighter. Bubba was probably in really good shape.
Yeah.
Bubba also is used to experiences with high adrenaline and high stress. So it's so did he freeze? Is that why he didn't make it too? Did he freeze? Like they did?
Yeah, that was not an armed robbery. Fuck that ranger.
Yeah, honestly, fuck all these rangers in this story. You guys know what.
Yeah. They were going to arrest them for hunting bears that are not there out of season.
So there were bears, but there was no bear season.
So that's real shitty for them to say. Hunting a bear out of season when there is no season.
Yeah.
That's just poaching.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, their logic, you think a ranger would know that, but the ranger probably didn't expect him to know that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But, yeah, so he had to go back, give a full report to his boss about firing his weapon and stuff, because he had a round that was 1 or 2 rounds. I don't remember if he shot twice. He had a couple rounds that were unaccounted for, because that was his department-issued handgun.
Yeah.
They also threatened to arrest them having their handguns.
If they are police officers, I think they are required to carry.
That's the thing, right? But I guess the park doesn't allow handguns. They allow like rifles and bows.
Yeah.
They don't allow handguns because you don't use those to hunt. What could you possibly be hunting with a?
Yeah.
So they don't allow handguns because they didn't at the time, and so they also were threatened. He was like, "I'm a cop. I have to carry one." They're like, "It doesn't matter."
Yeah. I just like that our cops required to have an off-duty weapon. They are also required to be armed off of duty and are required to have a concealed off-duty handgun. Because that
Right.
makes sense. Because like, if you're a cop and you've arrested somebody and you ruined somebody's life, let's say they got out that week and they come after you when you're not on duty.
Well, also off-duty cops can intervene in serious situations,
Yeah.
anyways.
So it would make sense that they would like we said, that they carry off duty.
Yep. So fascinating story. I do think he's genuine. He's written 3 books about it at this point.
I would love to read the books.
I can't find like flaws in his story that like are obvious contradictions or anything. So who knows? R.I.P. Bubba. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Harry. And so now we move on to the camper story. And this is where the case of the Beast of LBL shifts into even more controversial territory. Because the next incident is so hotly debated that it is unknown whether or not it actually happened. So this is a story brought to us, once again, by Jan Thompson,
Yep.
who worked at a diner on the side of... She worked at a diner and, or like one of the gas station diner things, I think. And she hears the story from 2 officers that have come in. I'm not meaning to move my laptop. My hand just keeps hitting it.
You're good.
2 officers come in to get coffee, and they're very shaken. And this is the story they give her. 2 officers got a call to one of the many rural campgrounds down at LBL. A young married couple had gone down to the campground and discovered an RV. Many people headed down early on in the camping to claim a good spot, so this wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the state of the RV. It's unknown how much this couple actually saw, but they left LBL, gave officers directions, and then never returned. Due to their fearful state, officers hurried down there along with one. What the officers supposedly discovered was unbelievable. The motorhome's doors were hanging, having been nearly ripped off. Bloody handprints were slapped near the front door into the camper. Crime scene markers were soon placed by piles of evidence outside. This included ripped clothing, torn off limbs, random body parts, a pile of bowels, and chunks of flesh barely hanging from. It was determined that 3 people were killed: a man, a woman, and a young boy. The officers at first assumed this to be the work of a madman with some wild device like a chainsaw. The coroner soon determined the instrument of death was a pair of large claws and very long incisors. Moreover, the claw marks on the dead man's back suggested 4 long claws per digit. All of their wounds were far too large to be created by a mountain lion, wolf, or coyote. Many thought perhaps a bear had somehow wandered into the territory, because what else could possibly do such a thing? Then one officer discovered a little clothing in the camper, so a search began for the potentially missing child. About 50 yards away from the camper, one of the officer's screams drew everyone's attention. Blood had dripped from the tree limb above on his face and head, and it was there that they discovered the little girl's body, partially eaten in a branch of the tree. So Jan Thompson says the story was given to her by 2 officers because she lives in that area and works in that area, at least at the time.
My issue with that is that if it's an ongoing investigation, which it would still be at that point, the officers should not be disclosing any of that information.
Right. So what is said is that it was no longer their investigation. Some other people show up and take over the investigation.
They still can't talk about it.
Right. Now, that's not to say that people wouldn't talk about... If I saw that, there would be nothing that would shut me personal.
Yeah.
And also, you've worked in a restaurant. Your customers will sometimes tell you things that they shouldn't because they feel like they have a relationship with you.
Yeah. When you're a service
Especially if
worker,
they're regulars.
You're kind of a therapist.
You become trustworthy to people.
Yeah.
So, do I think it's implausible that 2 officers recounted a story to Jan Thompson? No, I don't. However, the story gets even fucking weirder. In recent years, another witness has come forward. This witness is called Roger, and claims to have been camping with this family as a teen. He survived the attack by rolling under the RV and hiding. He says that the father and son were outside while the mother and daughter were inside the camper. The beast came up from the river and attacked the son first, and the father actually shot the beast, but it was too late. The beast claimed the father next, then ripped the door off to get the mother and daughter inside the camper. Roger says that the little girl was not found in a tree partially eaten, and that he's actually offended. But he's offended by that misinformation. He thinks it's wildly disrespectful to just make that up, I guess. He also so there was also a theory posited by people that maybe... My hand is glowing.
I see that.
It was posited by some people that maybe, given the fact it was dusk and they were near a river, that maybe the wind would kind of blow towards the river, and if there was a dogman in the river, if they were wearing perfume, or cologne, because this supposedly takes place in the 70s, where a lot of perfumes and colognes had deer musk in them.
Yeah.
So he rebukes the claim that the parents were wearing something like that would have drawn the beast in. He said neither of them were anything like that because they used to be Amish. This was a family that had left the Amish community.
Yeah, they wouldn't. I
Mm-hmm.
could see that they wouldn't, but I could also see that, like, if they left the community, that means that they craved a more modern life.
Right.
So I could
But
also...
he says that he knew them and that they didn't, because
Yeah.
they still didn't believe in stuff like that. The mom didn't wear makeup thing
Yeah.
because it wasn't what they were used to. They just didn't want to be Amish anymore.
Okay.
They were still very like homely people.
They just wanted indoor plumbing.
Right. They just want to use the outhouse at night. It's scary. Another point of the story is that Roger says that a farmer picks him up in a truck after, and he's the one who reports it, not a young couple.
Okay.
Roger says that he's the one that reports it. And now there's some conflicting stuff because I actually think there's another guy out claiming to have been with the family.
So there's 2 people.
But Roger doesn't acknowledge this guy. I'm not sure if it's Roger. I'm not sure if it's also Roger. But from my understanding, there's conflicting reports, even within Roger's story, about who responded.
That's so weird.
Now, I
actively
will
dying.
say, Roger, please don't die. Roger says that it was like a government agency that showed up, not the police. So now it's possible that the police were there first because it's their county and they heard
Yeah.
something through dispatch. And maybe those 2 officers were there. Because I actually don't know how this possibly gotten out to anyone to begin with if it was through a government agency.
Yeah, they would.
The cops have to be there. The cops have to be there to leak the information
Yeah.
in order for Roger's story to make sense.
I don't think that they left the crime scene, though, and went straight to the diner where, like, let me tell you, Jan, about what happened.
Well, she said they came in for coffee because it was like 4 a.m. I don't really think the camper story actually happened. If it mainly because of the sheer amount of misinformation and disinformation. There's also no record of it in police logs, no reporting in the newspapers, which...
If the government facility did
Right.
go in, that would be the case.
Right. So I don't even discount it because of that. But, like, Cryptid Studies Institute is actually who I first heard this through. They're on YouTube. I really like their work. They point out that stories put the beast at 9 feet tall, which would make it impossible for it to enter the camper based on the model of campers that were 70.
Yeah.
So they say the beast has to be more in line with like other stories have it.
Yeah.
You know, it just seems like, so either A, the camper story happened, and although I will say Roger's accounting of events is way more believable because he doesn't say it's a werewolf. And he says there's not bowels laying about, there's not limbs torn off. He said it could have been, for all I know, it could have been guys in masks.
So he's unsure of what it even is himself.
Because he was under the camper. So he's unsure of what it was.
Okay.
But he said he doesn't think it was like a werewolf. He just said he doesn't think it was a werewolf. So, who knows? His recounting of events is way more believable. But I don't know. I'm more inclined to believe Roger and then just say that, like, Jan was told something by the officers and then fucking ran with it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, she really likes to blabber and be a vocal person.
Yeah.
She also goes back later and says that she knows the exact site, but she won't tell anyone where. In the moment you do that, it's for safety. Girl, no, it's not.
If it's still here's the thing. If it's still a public campground, which it seems like it is.
It's not.
It's not?
Mm-mm. They tore out all the posts for our, like, plugins. They basically demolished the campsite, she says.
Granted, we are taking her word for this, so...
Right.
But...
I will say, Cryptid Studies Institute also found a campsite. They went to LBL.
Okay.
And they found what they believe to be the campsite. We don't know if it's the same as... But they think they found it, and it is indeed a decommissioned campsite. Like, you can't camp there anymore. All the utilities have been taken out.
Okay. Well, then I could believe that, but also like depending on like stuff that's because at least with my knowledge of campsites, like sometimes they just be ripping stuff out because they're like the government can just kind of do whatever they fucking want.
Right.
I still don't believe Jane. I agree with you. I would be more inclined to believe Roger.
Right. Like, I kind of do think that maybe some cops came in and told Jane something had happened and gave her, like,
The
a
most
not detailed
minimal.
report. Yeah, and then she was like, and then this happened. Because also, if you look at her other, you can, but some of it, I think, is pure fiction.
Yeah, like
She's a very, very gifted writer, and I think that this gives her a gift for embellishment.
but here's the thing too, sometimes between like writers and stuff like that, they can believe stuff so much and so vividly that they can turn reality.
Yes. So, if you want more information on the RV massacre and story, Cryptid Studies Institute on YouTube has videos. The Lore Lodge on YouTube also has done a really video on LBL. They talk a lot about because if I'm not mistaken, their host's background is in history.
Okay.
Like he has a history degree, and so he's familiar with researching
Okay.
and like the correct ways to do it. And he places a lot of doubt on Thompson as well.
All right.
He talks about Roger as well, I believe. But once again, this story is very controversial. There are no police records or news reports. However, this kind of thing still makes sense, as we said, because if news of something like this got out, it would completely kill to the area, and tourism is a major source of income in LBL.
Yeah.
To this day, even experienced hunters tend to shy away from LBL's Kentucky region. Nests are sometimes found dug deep into the dirt, and those brave enough to explore the area with a sense of being watched. Rangers are asked frequently about the strange howling heard the night before, as well as finding the bison from the repopulation program mutilated in the morning light. Whatever is happening in LBL has probably been happening for a long time, and it's doubtful we'll ever know what it actually is. If the stories are to be believed, though, it's better if the truth stays in the between the lakes. So that's it. That's what I got for you.
That is so it's just crazy.
I think the Murray story, the college kids, probably true. Martin Groves, 100%. I think some degree of the camper story, but not what Jan Thompson gave us.
No. To some point I'm willing to believe Jane's story, like the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But how old was she?
13. You can just misremember shit from the time
Yeah.
13.
There was an experiment held at Area 51
Hmm.
where they walked people through, and then I think it was like a year later brought them back and told them to recount everything that they remember, and like they were coming up with like things that weren't even there. So like it very well could have just been an actual animal. And just because
Right.
you're 13 years old,
Your brain is processing that a certain way.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, in my mind, her first story could be true.
Yeah.
I find her lack of reaction from the aunt and uncle particularly concerning if that story is true. And also, if the Beast of LBL is that fearsome, I find it hard to believe it would be scared away by a Cadillac horn.
Yeah.
Although, not the only story of the dogman being afraid of Cadillac horns that I've read.
Well, and with Jane, with like how her aunt and uncle responded, I could see that. Like, if you came home and your son was like, "Mom, this thing was like," gave you this story, would you
Right.
necessarily be inclined to believe him?
I mean, I would, but I'm crazy.
Yeah, I would believe my kid too, but like within a
We're the
reason,
only
like,
two people that would take that at face value.
yeah, but like, I feel like well, my parents don't count. Well, my mom's. If I went home to my dad and
Right.
was like, "Dad, let me tell you like this crazy like," and I'm freaking out about it, my dad would be like, "Okay, well, it's too far from your heart to kill you. Unload the groceries."
Right.
So
Right.
I could see the aunt and uncle not having a reaction to it.
Or maybe even just not wanting to scare the kids.
Yeah, because like they
That's
are younger children too, so maybe they've seen it and they're like, okay, well, if we don't react, they're not going to get scared by this.
it could also be one of those cases where if we don't think about it, talk about it, give it any credence, it'll go away.
Yeah.
Like I said, there is some information that you. Are you good?
Sorry, my cat's doing her weird stuff.
Oh, thought maybe you saw more handprints on your window.
No.
That's good.
No, I see a lot of cat nose prints.
It was her hands. She is a witch. Zuni is no longer in here, so not seen a cat. She is now out of quarantine.
We figure out what happened, or does it heal?
She had an infection.
Okay.
She had just a little wound that got infected from like playing or something. They think she's got kind of a lower to begin with. And so she got this boo-boo and it got infected, and then all her other boo-boos that she would get got infected as well.
Sounds like my sister.
Because she and Nart play pretty rough.
I believe that.
He's mean. He's kind of mean to her. We have to separate them sometimes. She's the only one he's mean to like that too.
Wow. When you said
Yeah.
Freya is a witch, she's on the floor where like the orb video happened.
Yeah.
And when you said witch, she whipped around so quick.
Freya, are you a witch?
She's looking at cardboard box.
Witch!
Burn the witch! She's looking at cardboard box now. She's
All right.
really
Well, what do you guys think? Do you believe Jan Thompson? Do you think there's something in LBL? Are you the Beast of LBL? I ask this every episode. Thing we
Let us know. Write us an email. The email will be in the description.
Mm-hmm.
We're so down to hear.
If you've been to LBL and had a weird experience, you should tell us about it.
We would be so happy.
I am trying to push Sage into paying me a visit and going camping in LBL.
Here's the thing: is that I feel like it's a pretty even distance. Oh, it is like near Is that Missouri?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's closer to Missouri than I thought it would be.
Hmm?
Because it might just be easier to pick you up and then drive down. I didn't realize where it was.
So, if we do that, we'll report live from the scene.
The rivers, lakes.
The rivers.
They look like centipedes.
It's the human centipede.
I'm going to screenshot that and then I will post that.
Also, let us know in the comments if you want us to go. Tell Sage it's time to go camping in LBL.
We've got quite a few places that we want to go together.
We've both got guns. We'll be fine. And if somebody starts throwing trees at us, we're firing immediately. These are not department issued handguns.
We're firing on site.
It's on site. You're getting your Dogman. You better watch it. Dogman, we'll leave you dead in a ditch. No, we won't. We'll load you up we'll kill you, and load you up in the car, and we'll bring you back for our podcast.
We'll just have it in the background of one of our videos.
We just taxi. That would be so scary to taxidermy it and just have it in there. Ugh!
I wonder how much it would cost.
I make it less scary by putting this on it.
It has elastics, it'll fit.
Its ears just are fucking flat.
Its mouth
we have to cut his ears off.
Why did you look at me like that, girl? We said that, and Freya just like turned around and looked at me and went into airplane mode with her ears.
You said, "Don't cut my ears off." No, that would be fucking scary. That would be that would actually be worse than the guy on TikTok who has that Art the Clown statue.
Oh no!
In his room.
Why
do you want that?
I will not sleep in a room if there are dolls, or like literally just anything that can watch me sleep. No, thank you.
Hey, don't worry. My doll doesn't have any eyes. They fell out. She can't watch you.
Is this the one that we took pictures with when we had the first pod?
Yeah. She can't watch you. She doesn't have eyes.
I would be more likely to sleep in a room with your naked Furby than with a
He's
doll.
somewhere. He's somewhere. I think he's in my closet, as he should be. I have a Furby that I skinned.
It is.
You know what pisses me off? He turned out to be valuable.
Did he?
Yeah. I don't care. It's worth it to be like, this is my Furby. You know what? Before we go we should just play this part of the episode while we're in LBL, just like super loud, so the dog man's like, maybe I don't want to fuck with that. She skinned a Furby. And for what?
So he could sit there.
Yeah. He's flayed and ready for his next life. Fresh. Flayed.
Also, if you guys want to, you guys can follow us. If you're not watching, we do have video on YouTube. So if you want to
And you're
see,
missing, yeah, you're missing our beauty.
and a lot of times when Megan's telling stories of Dog Man, I'm just over here with my mouth agape.
Yeah. I mean, because Sage, like I said, because Sage is glory, and they tend to be a little more tame. I'll be over here eating my tater tots, drinking my tea, listening. She's listening to me like,
Yeah, I don't get to do anything else.
there's no peace in my episode.
There's not but what we did say though that yours are more modern, so there are more detailed.
Right. You don't get more detailed than Cherry Bomb Muffler.
No, that story can burn
Haunts
in hell.
me. I think about it. I think about that story every time I drive at night.
You know what's really funny is I don't think since we've moved, I don't think we've driven at night really.
Well, don't.
I don't want to.
Yeah, you're gonna go out for a drive, and Dennis is gonna roll down, and you're gonna be like, "Man, this is a nice night," and then all of a sudden,
To be fair, last night I think I rolled the window
you're gonna
down.
see something emerging from a, and you're gonna go, "Oh my god, I know what this story is," and you're gonna be trying to roll the window up, scared, and then you're gonna realize it's me on all. I've got the mask on. Dennis was in on it the whole time. That's why he's got the window lock on.
He would do that. Because like the speed limit in our entire town, I'm pretty sure is just 25 miles per hour everywhere.
I could totally run 25 miles per hour on all fours, Sage. Not a problem. You look at I've got fucking moon shoes on to gain some distance jumping.
Daryl's just driving behind us with the camera recording.
But he's driving really timidly because he hates driving. I thought you were gonna say he's running too. No, he's not.
That's why I said he was driving. He's recording this. So
he's laying dead in the road somewhere. For those of you who don't know, Daryl, which I guess is none of you, he's got a really, really bad back. He has a pretty serious back disorder, so he's not running anywhere on all. I have to when it comes to terrorizing people.
That's why I said he was driving. He's just recording you in your moon shoes. He's just like
world star.
She a runner, she a track star.
She not gonna get very far.
But yeah.
So
it's just the thought. Dennis is recording from the inside.
That would be especially horrifying too. You realize, oh, that's Megan in a mask, and then I'm just like snatched the fuck up to find the actual dog man. You're like, oh fuck!
And then both of them have recordings of it, so that I'm like, well, I have to continue this podcast by myself.
That's just the next episode. Here's Megan being killed by the dog man. That's what the LBL episode over the course of 12 hours. No, I'm kidding. Like I said, we have firearms. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Hopefully.
Oh, goodness.
All right, guys. It's about that time again.
See you guys next week, and hopefully we'll hear some of your stories in the email.
What are you covering next week? Do you know?
Really great question that if you give me just a couple of seconds, I could tell you. If I just keep talking really slow, I'll be able to stall this long enough for this to load.
Here, I'll show them my candle while you're looking. I found this in my cupboard. Moonlit Graveyard from Bath and Body Works, and it's got these lovely birds on it. They're like.
Oh my god! I forgot I added all of our sources.
It smells strange. It's supposedly tombstone moss, cold, foggy air, eerie incense.
What is?
It's not a bad. It's just a very mossy, earthy smell.
I like that.
But it's definitely got the like sweeter incense smell, and weirdly enough, it's got that chilly quality of cold, foggy air somehow. It's a very good candle.
I have a Christmas candle that smells like a Christmas tree somewhere in this room.
The one that was thrown into their campsite?
Possibly.
It's made from that tree. All right, what are you doing next week?
Manuel Blanco Roma Santa, which is a really fun case. There will probably more than likely be a trigger warning on that one.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because I liked that one a lot. That one and another case. Jacques Roulet. Those were my two favorites. So I'm excited.
All right, guys. Show up next week so you can hear about Manuel.
Get out of the trash.
And Freya, get out of the trash. And we will see the rest of you in the next episode.